I took a look at Alfred Hitchcock's 50 plus feature films. Now I'm going to narrow it down to his top 10 before ultimately crowning the winner, Hitchcock's best overall movie. Welcome to the top 10 Alfred Hitchcock movie list. He's known as the purveyor of the POV, the manipulator of blonde leading ladies. You and I, of course, recognize him by his most famous handle, the master of suspense. What is it that makes Hitch the expert of this genre? In his own words, it's the way he uses the classic form of suspense, basically dramatic irony, when the audience knows what the characters don't. In addition, Hitch's calculated use of the camera to emotionally manipulate an audience was second to none. It's what truly cements his legendary status and renders his films timeless. So join me, grab your popcorn, and let's voyage into the deep sea of Alfred Hitchcock cinema by ranking this auteur's top 10 movies. Number 10, The Birds. Socialite Melanie Daniels encounters a lawyer named Mitch at a San Francisco pet shop. Curious and smitten, she later tracks down this confident attorney to the coastal town of Bodega Bay. There they reconnect, and Melanie becomes acquainted with Mitch's family and the Bay locals. But there's something off about this quiet community, and I don't mean the gossip between the townsfolk or the judgmental eye of Mitch's mother. No, there's something going on in the atmosphere. The birds begin acting strange, even aggressive on occasion. Nothing to worry, they're just birds, right? But gradually, the birds become violent, terrorizing Melanie and the Bay's citizens to the point where survival becomes the only motive. The Birds is Hitchcock's second man versus nature picture, 1944's Lifeboat being the other, and it's arguably Hitch's last great movie. I stress the word great because this film's biggest qualm is its pacing, as the excitement doesn't ramp up until well after the midpoint. But when things do kick into high gear, you've got Hitch at the absolute top of his game. Tippi Hedren is excellent in her feature film debut, and there's more than several standout moments. On top of that, for a movie that just celebrated its 60th birthday, the effects hold up pretty well. Number 9, Rebecca. A shy young assistant marries the wealthy Max de Winter, and together they move into his Manderley mansion. However, taking on the role of the new mistress proves to be quite the challenge. Not only does our unnamed protagonist feel unfit and out of place, she's increasingly intimidated by the insanely well-casted Miss Danvers. This ill-willed housekeeper torments her at every turn, constantly reminding her she'll never live up to the name of de Winter's deceased first wife, Rebecca. Rebecca, Rebecca, Rebecca. That's all she hears, and that's all she feels. Knowing just as much as the new Mrs. de Winter, we as the audience find ourselves asking similar questions. Why does this dead former mistress seem to have such a strong presence at Manderley? Why is any mention of her taboo to Mr. de Winter? And aside from being his first wife, who exactly was she? What happened to her? Rebecca is an unusual Hitchcock film. It's a completely British picture, though with an American touch, as it was produced by the legendary David O. Selznick. Like The Birds, Rebecca features a slow-burning narrative, but the film benefits from this thanks to its profound story and heavy psychological bite. But what truly renders this film one of Hitchcock's all-time greats is its beautifully foreboding atmosphere.
Is your name Miriam?
Number 8, Strangers on a Train. Alfred Hitchcock's best decade as a filmmaker jump-started with this slightly tacky, though highly enjoyable 1951 thriller. The story centers on, you guessed it, two strangers who meet on a train. Famous tennis star Guy Haynes and Bruno Antony, a fellow fan who knows all the details of Guy's personal life. He's even privy to the fact that Guy wants out of his marriage, but that his wife doesn't want the divorce. "Hey, I've got an answer to our problems," he declares. "I'll kill your wife if you kill my overbearing father. It's perfect." Guy, of course, rejects this absurd proposition and hightails it out of there, but not before accidentally leaving behind his specially engraved lighter. Now equipped with a weapon for blackmail, Bruno carries out his end of the bargain, entangling Guy in a web of deception and murder. There's nothing overly deep about Strangers on a Train, and while it's far from Hitch's best movie, it is loaded with excellent moments, and boasts arguably the single most effective shot that illustrates a stalking. Strangely enough, Hitchcock did not care much for his two leads, as he felt they were mostly ineffective. While this may be true for Farley Granger, Robert Walker's performance as Bruno is one of the best aspects of the film. He's darkly poetic and confident yet childlike, perfectly capturing the closet psychopath. The scene where he pursues Guy's wife at the carnival and follows through on his sinister plan is the film's most memorable. Number 7, Rope. Theoretically, Rope is Hitchcock's simplest work. The entire movie is held together by 10 uninterrupted camera shots, and its premise is compellingly straightforward. Two roommates murder their friend, dump his body in a trunk, then host a dinner party with the piece in clear view as a way to arrogantly celebrate their so-called perfect crime. Hitch uses the classic form of suspense here, quickly establishing the story's dramatic question. How are these guys going to get caught? This is what drives the narrative, keeping our butts glued to our seats as we anxiously await the answer. The The direction is masterful, as Hitch perfectly directs the eyes of our murderous duo. Foiling their celebration is Rupert, portrayed by the unforgettable everyman Jimmy Stewart. Gradually suspicious, he eventually solves the mystery to the whereabouts of their missing comrade. It's a joy to watch as he toys with Brandon and Philip, goading them to admit their heinous crime while he himself tries to avoid an overt accusation. With a brisk runtime of 80 minutes, Rope might be, dare I say, Hitch's second most fun movie.
You little fool.
You just stay away from me.
Number 6, North by Northwest. Hitch's most fun movie, North by Northwest, tells the story of Roger Thornhill, an advertising executive who is mistaken for a government agent by a group of spies. Thornhill's mission to clear his name and unravel the conspiracy catapults him into an exhilarating cross-country journey. While running for his life, he's immersed in espionage, exciting chases, a sizzling romance, and gets shot at while descending Mount Rushmore. This movie is absolutely bonkers, and that's exactly why it's so much fun. In addition, Hitchcock empowers us not just as viewers, but as participants. We're put right in Thornhill's shoes, trying to navigate this wacky adventure while simultaneously trying to make sense of it all. Because if you're not fully invested, disorientation will likely follow. Just ask Cary Grant. He approached Hitch during the film's production, complaining, "We're already a third of the way through this thing, and I still can't make heads or tails of it." What he didn't realize, however, is that in his complaint, he was actually using a line of his own dialogue. Ultimately, it's Grant's charisma and his reaction to the bewildering narrative that lends the film its undeniable charm and inevitable humor. Speaking of humor, the movie is laced with it, and no, it's not unintentional. You'll have to visit the other Grant and Hitch movie, To Catch a Thief, for that.
Murderer!
Horrible. Faded, fat, greedy women.
But they're alive, they're human beings.
Are they?
Number 5, Shadow of a Doubt. Charlie is a charming, free-spirited young woman who yearns for excitement beyond the confines of her small California town. To break up life's monotony, she decides to telegram her sophisticated and well-traveled uncle, also named Charlie. However, he beats her to the punch. He's telegrammed her, informing the family he's on his way to visit and plans to stay for an unknown duration. Upon his arrival, Charlie is utterly ecstatic when they finally meet and reconnect. But the deeper into her uncle's long visit, the more Charlie begins to realize there's something off about him. Something he's hiding. Something dark. Evil. Hitchcock's personal favorite of his own films, Shadow of a Doubt is so effective because it hits so close to home. We all have that family member or close friend who we cherish so dearly. But what if we were forced to look at them in a different light, to unravel the facade they presented for so long and discover something truly terrifying? This simple and primal concept is the root of the film's power and the theme that Hitch masterfully exploits. Shadow of a Doubt is without a doubt one of Hitchcock's most powerful and timeless movies.
Hello.
Number 4, Dial M for Murder. Tony Windus has set aside his tennis career in an effort to spend more time with his wealthy wife, Margot. But his loving intentions prove to be a calculated ruse, as he knows full well she's been having an affair. Armed with a cunning plan for revenge, he deceives and blackmails an old school friend to assist with its execution. Speaking of execution, that's exactly what they plan to do. Kill her. To get away with this crime will demand great precision and everything going exactly according to plan. And of course it doesn't, because it's Margot who kills the old school chum. Uh-oh. Dial M for Murder is a concise, perfectly executed thriller. A faithful adaptation of the British stage play, the film takes place almost exclusively in a single location. A wise decision by Hitch, as this creates stronger audience engagement as well as increases suspense by making things feel confined and claustrophobic. The solo setting also adds to the interpersonal relationships and dynamics between the characters. The looks and nuances by Windus as he confronts unforeseen roadblocks are a masterful touch. But Hitch's greatest trick in Murder is making us side with the villain. No easy feat, especially going up against the graceful Grace Kelly. But for a character to put so much planning and intricate detail into a murder, it's hard not to pull for him when things go astray. And like Rope, anticipating how he's going to get caught provides the ultimate suspense.
What? Lisa! Please.
Number 3, Rear Window. After breaking his leg photographing a high-speed racing event, pro photographer L.B. Jeffries is confined to a wheelchair in his apartment. During this downtime, he's become an avid voyeur, observing and following the lives of his fellow neighbors like a TV enthusiast would a dramatic series. It's one particular apartment, however, that begins to pique his interest, Lars Thorwald's. After a heated marital argument, Lars starts exhibiting suspicious behavior. Late-night departures with a large suitcase, wrapping knives in a newspaper. On top of that, where exactly is Mrs. Thorwald? Lars didn't kill her, did he? Rear Window's enduring appeal lies far beyond its suspenseful plotting. The film doesn't just engage audiences. It forces us to act as voyeurs. We become entangled in the everyday lives of these strangers. A lonely widow, newlyweds, an attractive dancer, and of course, a potential killer. Once the seed of suspicion has been planted, we switch from voyeurs to active participants, tied to Jeffries and his girlfriend Lisa as they begin their own dangerous investigation. Also wanting the truth, we'd likely find ourselves behaving just as they would. And this is Hitch's game. He knows that bearing witness to a potential murder is exhilarating, captivating. He knows we'll partake. Number 2, Vertigo. Former detective Scotty Ferguson is dragged out of retirement to investigate Madeline Elster, the wife of a wealthy shipping executive. What Mr. Elster wants to know is, where has Madeline been going? What is she doing? Ultimately, why has she been acting so peculiar? But as Scotty tails Madeline, he becomes enamored with her. Beyond her beauty, what is it that makes her so mystifying? What's her strange fascination with a 19th century painting? And more importantly, what would cause Madeline to attempt suicide? It's almost impossible to watch Vertigo and not think of Alfred Hitchcock. Jimmy Stewart's portrayal of Scotty Ferguson is essentially a metaphor for Hitch himself, his extreme attention to detail, his desire to mold and perfect, and his overall need for control. These powerful themes of identity and obsession perfectly blend with the film's mesmerizing narrative. With vibrant colors, take-your-breath-away cinematography, and a haunting score by Bernard Herrmann, Vertigo is a film that is truly hypnotic. And thanks to its ever-present mysterious aura, it's one you'll find yourself returning to again and again. Number 1, Psycho. After embezzling $40,000 from her employer, Phoenix resident Marion Crane heads for California. Her plan? Use the stolen money to start a new life with her boyfriend in Fairville. But on the road, she faces second thoughts. A heavy rain forces her to pull over. Her stop? The Bates Motel. The rest, as they say, is movie history. It's no coincidence that Hitchcock's trademark film is one of the most influential movies of all time. Hitch famously said, "There's no suspense in the bang, only in the anticipation of it." But in Psycho, he breaks his own rule, shocking audiences by having his leading lady brutally murdered at the film's midpoint. After over 60 years of infamy, this notorious moment in horror history still works to magnificent effect. Psycho delivers excellent suspense at almost every turn. Arbogast's relentless questioning of Norman Bates is an underrated highlight. Like Spielberg's Jaws, Psycho is a tale of two drastically different halves, each equally excellent in their own way and both perfectly complementing the other. Over 6 decades later, its influence still permeates, its presence still felt. In the galaxy of cinema, Psycho remains an iconic and unparalleled achievement.